one weapon is, in my opinion, coming out to be the #1 weapon, and that is the scythe itself. This beautiful weapon right here. Now, the reason why I mention all of this is because it's being used everywhere. Now, I've talked about weapons as a whole initially, and I've kind of stated how the Grimoire and the Plum Sword themselves are kind of like universal weapons to be used in whatever situations. I think the scythe is kind of taking the #1 spot in that case, purely because of whatever situation, whatever fights. I am seeing this scythe being used practically everywhere. And again, like I said, main reason, because it's a free weapon and you get the A1 for free. And the A1 itself, I mean, you can't exactly hate it. When your HP is below 70%, you get that critical rate increase of 25%. So, I mean, you can't knock that. That's a big jump, a big buff to get for the crits side of things, especially with crits kind of being meta right now. So, you know, there's that. But it really is just, in my opinion, as I've just stated, the #1 universal weapon. Because again, in whatever situation, depending on, you know, the enemy's attribute, on wherever the weakness is, for example, it could be light, water, whatever, the scythe is always being paired up with the weapon that is giving you the typing advantage over the raid boss or whatever fight that you put yourself in. Even in situations where the enemy has typing advantage over dark, at times I'm still making good use of the scythe. It's still valid. Like, yeah, okay, I mean, I'm not doing as much as I would be doing, but still, it's getting the job done. And like I already stated, it is a free weapon, and so a lot of people, especially if you're free to play, this is going to be your safe haven. But yeah, like for example, if we head over to Battlefield Time, so Battlefield Time has officially completed, so this is season 1 done. This is the first season, we are out of here. And again, there are like combinations where you can really utilize using other weapons, maybe SRs and whatnot, but the scythe is just, it's a fan favorite. It really is. It's being used a lot, and again, mainly because it's a free weapon. And I think that's kind of what I'm really wanting to kind of push this whole agenda. I want more. Now, the way you go about getting the scythe is obviously you've got to progress through the story, get some challenges done, and then through that, like I said, the game will give you the initial copy of the scythe and then A1. Technically speaking, if RNG is in your favor, the scythe itself is more than likely and could be the first SSR that you can potentially dupe out max, right? Again, when you're summoning, if you get lucky, etc. Because you're just getting that head start, that's it. So, of how good of a weapon it is and how much it's actually helping the player base, and with content getting a little bit more difficult now, is September going to be the continuation of a free SSR? So, obviously, I believe it was with the Elysia banner. I could be wrong, could be a little bit early on, who knows. But they extended the chapter challenges because, of course, new stories did get added in. And the immediate thing that I did was, I was like, new weapon, weapon dupes, new weapon. Now, unfortunately, this time around, we didn't get any new weapons, but a ton of resources, which is fantastic. However, it seems that with the new chapters that they've added in for the challenges, they've added a ton of it. So it is going to take us a hot minute to do. I've not exactly been prioritizing on actually getting it done, but it's going to take time regardless. Now, the way I believe that they're going about doing this is, of course, whenever a new story gets added in, then more challenges will get added in. Now, if they go about doing it with the SOLOLEVELINGSKR challenge story, that continuation is in September, so it's going to take us a hot minute to complete. Alright, unless they continue on with the original story, which I don't think that would be the case, to be honest. I think there's just going to be continuing on with the actual original story, I mean solo leveling story, of course. And so begs the question, what more are we going to be getting next? I feel like with the developers, they are going to be giving us a new free weapon. I feel like I'm really just hoping that someone is listening and be like, you know what, go on there, go on, fingers crossed. I mean, by then, you know, we don't know where the game is going to be. Well, then again, we've got a ton of content lined up. I'm down for the assist, if anything. You know, I think for the game itself, it'll be fantastic to know that just by playing it, especially for newcomers, you know, you can walk away with a maxed out SSR weapon, which is up there being like in the top 3, right? I think that'll be a good message to send. Why not? Now, in terms of the new weapon, what could it be? I don't think, I mean, it'll be pretty I feel like by then, it being September, they can really start involving some of the new SSRs, aka like the Moon Dagger weapon or the Moon Shadow Dagger weapons, and the Scatty Pistol, of course. But a part of me thinks that they might just keep it with the original SSRs that started off the game with. So at that point, it begs the question on what could be next. You know, in terms of giving us that free SSR, weapon-wise, what could be next? Could it be the Scythe? I mean, I wouldn't mind gaining more of the Scythe dupes, to be honest. I mean, the weapon itself is fantastic. It's universally loved. It's still kicking ass today. It's still progressing and beating bosses with the amount of damage it possesses to this current day. Even with upcoming content, I'm sure this is going to get max usage. I will say this right now. When I had a maxed out plum sword with an extra 2 dupes into it, I was still using my A3, A4 Scythe. I'm sorry, I was still catering to this weapon purely because it was providing me with that damage. Now, to be fair, the game itself and the way the developers have handled it, none of these weapons have dropped off. That's why I say, you know, when we do get to September, I still believe every single weapon is going to be the way it is to how it is now, right? It being viable, it being putting in work, it being able to take care of the newer content. I think we're going to be just as fine, and if things do change up, I assume that the weapons themselves will get an increase in percentages so that it just keeps in line. So with that being said, and that's why I mention it now, with the challenges being added in September, because that's when the story continues, more Scythe dupes I will be down for. I think everything is going to be staying the same. I don't know how the developers are going to handle it, I don't know how they're going to match it, but I do genuinely feel like that we are going to be a-okay in terms of the weapon scaling for them not falling off, right? And I think the Scythe itself is going to be holding that #1 spot for a hot minute at a time in terms of just coming in, doing its damage and helping the player base on progressing through raids, content, boss fights, and just being a universally used weapon in multiple combinations. Rightfully so. So I'm leaning to more dupes for Scythes, to be honest. I think that will be beautiful. I mean, you've already started off by giving us 2 copies. Keep it going. Let's go. Unless, again, if people want variety, which might not be a bad thing. Actually, it might be a better thing, actually. So with that being said, I think if we're going with the weapons themselves, I think the Grimoire and the Huntsman will be a perfect addition for the challenges to give out free weapons. So that way, you've got the Grimoire itself, giving you the water attributes. Again, it is one of the best universally used weapons, of course. And I feel like out of every other SSR that we have, because I'm not gonna, I mean, well then again, them giving out the plum sword itself, that is just a free combination. I think that will be so huge to have, to be honest. That would be dope. But the reason why I bring up Huntsman is because Huntsman is the only Jinwoo weapon that provides you with break, and having a breakage weapon, having the break effect on a weapon pretty much opens up a lot more room on not having to cater to that side of it when in terms of like ruins and whatnot, because you got a weapon that can provide that. Sometimes I do like to go down that route, by the way, so again, it just kind of opens up on move sets on what you guys can do. Vulcan and the longsword, I mean, yeah, I mean, to be fair, the Eye of Sauron is, in my opinion, way better than Vulcan. The longsword, I mean, people are going to be catering to the West Wind, so like there's already alternative SR weapons, which I believe we can already get through the last challenges that give out these SR weapons. So I think we're good on those typings. I would honestly say those are the better SSRs. Those SRs should be SSRs, in my opinion, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in terms of the next set of challenges and potentially free SSR weapons coming along with those. I do genuinely believe they should just be like, screw it, let's just A5 it for everyone, and that's what I'm hoping for September. So I think that is kind of like the best move to do it. And plus, to those people that already have dupes on it, I mean, look, it makes it even better by getting the +5 going, right? Get the additional buffs for Jinwoo, stat-wise, of course. But I think as a whole for the game itself, especially for newcomers, yeah, having access to a free A5 Scythe will go an absolute long way. And I just genuinely believe that it's kind of like the best move to do. So I think in September they should really consider doing that when it comes to adding more challenges, to then add in the free remaining dupes for the Scythe, which means 4 free Scythe copies. I'm not sure how they're going to do that within the challenges. I mean, they have to throw in a decent amount just to spread them out, but what are you all thinking? A5 Scythe for free? Or variety?